Hello everyone, welcome on in. It's Betting Weekly Game Bet Match. It's the final podcast of the week, and I'm delighted to say joining me to look ahead to tomorrow's action in Antwerp in Belgium and Almaty in Kazakhstan is our senior and in-form ATP Tour handicapper. It is Sean Calvert. Good afternoon, Sean.
Good afternoon. Bloody beautiful day, isn't it? Lovely.
20 degrees today.
I've been out playing paddle. I wasn't going to play today because I felt a bit under the weather, but when I saw the weather forecast, I thought, I'll go and have a bit of play in this weather. You can't overlook a 20-degree day in Britain in the middle of October, can you?
It's insane. I mean, last week I had my gloves on and my hat freezing at Wembley, and then today I've got my shorts and taking the top off and t-shirt. It's wild. The weather's wild, but it is warm. It's nice, and it's good because we're reigning winners as well. Doing okay. Got a couple of weeks in the season, looking good. Good part of the year for you, isn't it? This part.
Yeah, I feel like you just get more opportunities. Because at the start of the year, pretty much everyone's fit. Well, the majority of players are fit. They're not overly fatigued. There's no real edge there in terms of the odd betting odds. This time of the year, if you can sort of spot a player who's looking a bit lethargic, looking a bit moody, generally it can work in your favour. That's the be-all and end-all of it, really, particularly the Asian swing. A lot of players don't fancy it. You can take a bit of a punt on the ones that do, the ones that don't, based on their workload and various other things. And it just gives you a bit of an edge. A lot of the time earlier in the year, you don't have that.
Now, I just want to say something. Behind me, it might be my office wall, and behind me, my next door neighbour is doing some work. There's some workmen around, so you might hear some banging. It's not me thumping the desk or not watching a tennis.
I can hear something. Yeah.
Angry about. If you can hear that banging, but I would go and knock on the door and ask, but he's about 4 times the size of me, and I don't really want to spoil it too much. But if you do hear some banging, that is what it is behind me. Anyway, let's move on to tomorrow's action, and we're going to look at 4 matches, as I say, this week. There's 3 tournaments. Head across to the Bet Rivers website. You'll get all the matches available throughout the day on all the 3 tournaments on the ATP Tour, 250 events. But the 2 tournaments we are going to discuss here are 2 matches in Antwerp and 2 matches in Almaty in Kazakhstan. Now, the first match in Antwerp is a pretty interesting one. It's interesting if betting is concerned. It's Marcus Giron against Otto Rinderknech. Giron is minus 120. Rinderknech is minus 104. The spread is 1.5. The total here is 23.5, a high number with over at even money. If you look at these 2 players, they both had good wins, actually. Giron beat Botic van der Sandschulp. Not in great form, but in his home country, it was a good result there on the back of a 3rd round appearance in Shanghai. Rinderknech beat Blocks pretty convincingly. 2 sets to love. We thought that might be a bit of a struggle. Head-to-head, it's the American who leads 2-1, but the last meeting was in Chengdu in 2023, more or less this time last year, and Rinderknech won 7-6, 6-4. Giron, in good form, 6 matches on indoors this season and 5 wins. But bookies can't really split the 2, make the American slight favourite. Do you agree or disagree with that assumption by Bet Rivers?
I agree. I've got 1.84 on my live page at the moment. I don't know what that works out to in American. It's not quite as short as minus 120, is it?
It's not far off.
Okay.
It's minus 120, but they round it up a little bit. So minus 120, minus 104. Yeah.
Okay. So I think anything in that area is good for Marcos Giron backers. When I looked at this earlier before I went out to play paddle, he was a bigger price than that. So I was coming a little bit, but still. I think it's a really good bet here, Giron. If we look at what these 2 have done in their last 10 main level matches on indoor hard, Giron 50% win rate, service points won and return points won, total of 106, and a service hold and break total of 114. I mean, these are very good stats. Those latter stats don't really go with a 50% win rate. He should be winning more matches than he is if he's bringing in those numbers. Those are incredible numbers for a guy who's about 47 in the world. Those are top 10 stats, really. Compare that with Rinderknech, 40% win rate for him, and a service points won and return points won total of 100, and a hold and break total of 100. So some way ahead, Marcos Giron. Just breaking down those Giron stats a little bit more, he's held serve 92% of the time in those 10 matches. He's won 60% of his second serve points. So he's serving really, really well, backing up his second serve really, really well. And as I said, you would have expected on those numbers that I looked at this morning, it's amazing that he's only won 50% of those matches. He's probably lost 1 or 2 that he should have won. If you look at their head-to-head as well, they've played, I think, 3 matches, haven't they? breaking those down, the service points won and return points won totals across those 3 matches, again, favours Giron 103 to 97, so a decent advantage there. And breaking those numbers down a little bit, we find that Giron wins 53% of his second serve points across those 3 matches. Rinderknech just 42% of his second serve. So Giron's been considerably the better player from the back of the court in their head-to-head series. I've also looked at how these pair have fared against top 50 ranked opponents on indoor hard. Rinderknech is 2-8 win-loss, so he's got a 20% win rate only against top 50 ranked players on indoor hard. Giron, again, much better, 35% win rate. So all the stats are pointing to Giron. You know, he was in a big way, not just slightly, quite a considerable advantage for Giron. He was very good as well against another weird performance from Botic van der Zandschulp. I mean, it's kind of a home tournament for him, isn't it? He's obviously from the Netherlands. This is Antwerp. It's close enough. It's not going to get that much closer for him, other than Rosmalen and Rotterdam. But so often he performs his worst at home, van der Zandschulp. I've kind of given up trying to second guess what van der Zandschulp's going to do on any given day. So moody. But Giron was great. So, and the other thing about Giron is he hasn't played that much in the last sort of 4 or 5 months. He's only played, I think, about 10 matches since he won that grass court title. So should be fresh as well. So yeah, it all points to Giron for me. I'm happy to take that price. It's probably going to fall perhaps further, because I still think that's a bit of decent value.
Yeah, minus 120 is the current price with Bet Rivers. The match starts at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, early hours of Thursday morning as Eastern time. And if you want to get the minus 120, you want to head across now. There's 28 different markets available. And somebody mentioned in the comments yesterday, Sean, where do you watch these live matches? Well, all you have to do is have a bet with Bet Rivers.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to watch the matches live streamed on your mobile phone or on your device or wherever you want to do it from the comfort of your own home. So
yes, you
can watch live and bet live with Bet Rivers. So that's the answer to that question.
I tend to do a couple of things, actually. Sorry, mate. I tend to watch it on one of the sports channels, and then I've got another TV there, another one there. So I can watch a couple of matches at the same time. One on, the bookmaker stream that Nigel just said, and the other one on the world feed, whatever match is on at the minute. It's Wawrinka. So yeah, plenty of options.
Plenty of options indeed, but the only option for you is by streaming it on Bet Rivers when you place your wager. Let's move on to the second match we're going to discuss in Antwerp. It's Thiago Seyboth Wild against Stefanos Tsitsipas. Now, Stefanos Tsitsipas has had a season to forget. It doesn't look like he's going to get much better. His form is not really showing much signs of improvement. He got beat by Khachanov in round 1 at the US Open. He got beat by Mikkelsen in Japan in the round 1. Did a little bit better in Shanghai. But he's up against Seyboth Wild, who was very, very impressive, I thought. He's come through qualifying here, and I opposed him in the last round against Mpetshi Perigard, but he was very, very good. Stefanos Tsitsipas here was a very, very heavy favourite, despite all his problems this year. Minus 435 with Bet Rivers. Seyboth Wild is plus 325. The spread is 3.5. The total here is 22.5. The two have never played before. But Seyboth Wild has got a 3-0 record indoors this season, and all of them on this court after he's come through qualification. So I don't know where you're going to go here, Sean, but I don't think we're going to be putting much euros on the Greek here at minus 435, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm not putting my Antwerp food card refund money from last year on Tsitsipas at minus 435, that's for sure. As you said, he's done nothing this season on hard courts. To suggest that he should be this short against an opponent with some good weapons in Seyboth Wild. I know he's considered a clay exponent, really, but that's not the case. He can play on hard courts and to a very, very good level as well. Just this season, he's beaten Taylor Fritz in Miami, a Masters 1000 level, and Karen Khachanov, also at Masters 1000 level on hard courts. Lost in a final set tiebreak, in the 5th set to Andre Rublev at the Australian Open, also on hard. Also taken sets off Holger Rune and Hubert Hurkacz this season on hard. Even last time out, he only lost 7-5, 7-5 to Daniel Medvedev in Shanghai, again, a reasonably paced hard court. So he's certainly got the ability to compete with these guys. If you look at what Stefanos has done on hard courts this season at main level, it's not befitting of a guy who still claims that he's a Grand Slam contender. He still feels that he's going to win one. Maybe, but I highly doubt it's going to be on hard courts or grass. So basically the French Open is his only chance. So 56% win rate, not great. Service points won and return points won, total of 101. It's okay, but it's not going to get you too far in big tournaments, really. Seyboth Will's got a 53% win rate, so he's only 3% behind. Tsitsipas does lead the totals, as I said, 101. It's 97 for Seyboth Will, so it's a reasonable advantage to Tsitsipas. But it's not the money line that interests me here. It's the total games, because their serving stats are very similar on hard courts. We know Tsitsipas struggles to break serve on anything like a quickish hard court, plays an awful lot of tie breaks. So against an opponent who's serving really well, as you said, hits the ball big, got a lot of power, played 3 matches here already through qualifying. Tsitsipas is obviously playing his first match on indoor hard for quite some considerable time. So I've looked at what Tsitsipas has done lately on indoor hard. He's gone over 10.5 games in set 1 on this surface at main level, 6 times in his last 14 matches. So that's 43% of the time he's going over 10.5. But we're getting here 2.95 plus 195, which represents about a 34% chance about this happening again. So there's a little bit of value there for sure. So set 1 overs for me here. 2.95 plus 195. That is a Bet Rivers.
Very nice price. Seyboth Will against Stefanos Tsitsipas. Set 1 overs 10.5. Massive 195. I'm quite interested in Seyboth Will on the spread or something like that, plus 114. I think that this is, and I like the total overs in the match as well at plus 104. So there's a lot of markets available there with Bet Rivers, 29 different markets. Basically, the common themes, we're massively against Tsitsipas here. The Greek star probably is one player that might want the season to come to an end after what has been a very, very disappointing season for him. Now, as I said, there are 3 tournaments across the ATP Tour this week. Head across to the Bet Rivers website. You'll be able to see the other tournament in Stockholm as well. We're not covering any bets there over in Sweden, but we have got 2 bets for you, or 2 matches we want to feature here in Kazakhstan. Now, this is the Almaty Open, and this is we've had a good run here. We've done well in this tournament. It's quite fast. It's very quick surface, and this is a little bit earlier. The kickoff, the matches start at 6 a.m. Across in Antwerp Eastern time, but over in Kazakhstan it's a 2 a.m. start. So any suggestions we have here, you really want to get on very, very quickly, because the lines might move, and obviously you don't want to miss the start of the match. Now, the first matchup is already an interesting one for us already, because it's got our 20-1 tournament pick, Dan Evans. He's in action against Francis Tiafoe. Francis Tiafoe here is a heavy favourite. He's minus 275. Evans is plus 210, spread 3.5, and the total here is 22.5. Now, if you look at your head-to-head records, and you like your head-to-head records, there's a lot to go on here, because they've met 9 times before. Tiafoe is leading 5-4. But the last time Evans won was in Vienna last year, where Tiafoe had to retire. And Evans won the match before that in Washington, in Tiafoe's backyard, in the quarterfinal. The tournament he went on to win 6-4, 7-5. So there's a lot of data to go on here, Sean. We know I think you've probably already played your cards, because we're on Dan Evans to win the tournament at 20-1. Yeah. But would you have a different strategy here if you've got a 20-1 ticket? Would you suggest a play, or what you? I don't know what you're going to say, but if you're going to go with the Evans camp, would you suggest it at 20-1, or if you haven't, would you sort of suggest this? I mean, leave it up to you how you want to play this in your strategy here. Yeah,
I think if you're not on Evans, and perhaps a few people wouldn't be, because there wasn't much time, was the last night. Took a while for the odds to come out, and then there wasn't that much time for people to get on, depending on where you are in the world, of course. So if you're not on the Evans outright, I think it's worth backing him in a single here, because I think this is good value. This is all about the attitude of the 2 players. Again, I'm guessing at this a little bit, because you kind of have to. What's the attitude of Tiafoe to come in indoors in Europe at the end of what's been a very long season, and particularly the last few months of this season have been really long for Tiafoe. He's played 24 matches since Wimbledon. Evans has played only 17, so quite a considerable fitness advantage for Dan Evans. As I said the other day, he's not played that many matches. He's only played about 40-odd matches this season, Evans. So he should have gas in the tank, and he should be highly motivated. If he actually wins this tournament, like I obviously hope that he's going to, then that would put him back in the picture almost certainly for direct entry into the Australian Open, where he is at the moment. He's 180 in the world, so he's miles out. He's 80-odd places 70, 80 places out of direct entry to Australian Open. If he doesn't get back into top 100-ish, 100, 110, 105, whatever is the cutoff, then he's going to have to go through qualies to enter the Australian Open, which is, unheard of for someone like Dan Evans. He's 34 years of age. The question is he going to is he thinking to himself, well, I've had a good career, I made a lot of money, I'll just sort of see the last year or so out, or is he thinking, I'm still competitive here at 34. On the evidence of the last few days in Almaty, you would suggest the latter. He's battled through qualifying, he's beaten Boo. The level that he's played it has been really, really good. So going back to Tiafoe, he was certainly extremely ratty last week, wasn't he, in Shanghai, to say the least, when he exploded to the umpire after the issue that he had against Saflin with being called for time violation. So it just shows you that a lot of these players are on the edge. What's he got left? The other thing about Tiafoe is he's lost 9 of his last 15 matches on indoor hard. So not a great record on this surface in recent times. If you look at his last 10 matches on this surface, again, it's not great. 50% win rate, service points won and return points one total of 98. That's just one better than Seyboth willed. And he's only broken serve 13% of the time, winning just 33% of return points. He has said that his return game has improved under the tutelage of his new coach, David Witt. So maybe that will improve his stats on indoor hard, which at the minute aren't great. If you look at the head-to-head, taking into account every match they've played, and that includes the one where Evans retired, it's a decent advantage to Evans, 103 to 97 in terms of the service points won and return points won totals. And Evans is winning 40% of return points in this matchup. These matches have all been played in either outdoor hard or indoor hard. So, lively conditions. They're not playing on clay or even Evans' favourite. Actually, Evans isn't that great on grass, is he? I was going to say his favourite surface. He's not that great on grass, is he, Evans? But I'd say outdoor hard was Evans' best surface. Winning 40% of the return points against a big server like Tiafoe. So he's got a good read on that Tiafoe serve over the years. And what he's done so far in Almaty, Evans, he's held serve 94% of the time. I know some of the opponents haven't been great, but one of them was Boo, who's in really good form. And the motivation is there. As I said, if he wants to get into the Australian Open directly, he can do it in one fell swoop by winning this tournament. So if you're not on Dan Evans on the outright, I would suggest having a go here with Bet Rivers at plus 210.
Plus 210. We're all in the Dan Evans camp. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing.
We'll see. It could get wrong.
He's quite erratic, to say the least, Dan Evans. But, it is a value play. He's beaten Francis Tiafoe 4 times. Yeah. He's got all the motivation. Tiafoe, as Sean said, threw a wobbler last week. And Evans here at plus 210 does look a little bit of value. And we want him to win the tournament as well to end the season on a high. Our final match is also in Almaty. Remember, 2 a.m. start Eastern time is Khachanov up against Otto Virtanen, who ended a 6-match losing run where he beat Fabio Fognini in straight sets. I watched a little bit of that match. I didn't watch all of the match, but I think the scoreline flattered Virtanen a little bit. I thought Fognini had some chances. We know he probably wasn't giving it all 100%, but I did think the scoreline flattered him. I wasn't really that impressed. But Khachanov here is a decent favourite, minus 225. This red is 2.5 and 22.5 is the total. Khachanov has lost his last 2 matches, though. He got beat in the Beijing quarterfinal by Alcaraz, got beat in the second round, which is equivalent to the first round, by Giron in Shanghai. And this is his first match here, as Virtanen has actually played a match. So there's pros and cons here, but I wouldn't trust either of these two players. Interested to see where you're going to go here.
I opposed Virtanen against Fognini on the basis that it was what I considered to be an awful price. He was 1.4, I think, minus 250 Virtanen against Fognini, and he was coming in there, as you said, with the 6-match losing streak. But now that he's plus 175, I'm interested because of the form of Khachanov, which is awful, really. I've been waiting for Khachanov to kind of find his level again, but he hasn't really found it at all. He's not improved at all since the summer. He's really in a bit of a rut at the moment. And on a quite a low bouncing, quite quick indoor hard court, he might find it quite tricky against a very flat hitter like Virtanen. I mean, Virtanen doesn't lose many matches wondering whether he could have been a bit more aggressive. He just goes for everything. He is a bit of a ball basher, like I said, but when it's on, it's really, really good. It just hasn't been on a lot lately. Some of that might be to do with the back injury that he picked up when we backed him against de Minaur at the Australian Open. He led the first set 5-2, then picked up a back injury, and he hasn't been right since. Maybe now with that win over Fognini, maybe now he's fit again. But as I say, it might be a difficult matchup for Khachanov in these conditions. If you look at what Khachanov's done in his last 10 matches, it's not good. 40% win rate, service points won and return points won, total of 99. And he's quite a big server. He's only held serve 76% of the time. And these are all on hard courts. There's no clay in those stats. So for him, that's really disappointing numbers. Certainly quite some way down on what you would call his sort of mean level. And Virtanen in his last 10 main level matches, he's got exactly the same total, which is 99 on the service points won and return points won total. So there's nothing between them on recent form, which immediately makes Virtanen interesting at plus 175. The other thing that strikes me about Virtanen is that he's won the opening set in 5 of his last 6 main level matches. And the only one he lost was that one I just mentioned when he was 5-2 up against de Minaur and got a back injury. So he's been a strong starter in matches in recent times. Khachanov, as I said, he was, as you said, actually, he was easily beaten by Marcos Giron in a match that was moved indoors in Shanghai. It was played on indoor hard because of all the rain. And now Khachanov's coming here to Almaty at altitude. It's not easy to adjust. I think it's quite an advantage having played one match in the conditions here, which obviously Virtanen has. So, not convinced as you are. I'm not totally convinced about Virtanen because he is very up and down. And I'll be honest, he's not the strongest mentally. I wouldn't trust him in a battle. I sort of feel like he's going to fade away if it gets too hot for him to handle. So, the trends with Virtanen are that he starts strongly at this level. So I'm happy to take plus 143 if that's still the price with Bet Rivers about Virtanen winning the opening set.
We're going to have a look now. I was going to have a look, see what the first set price is. Set number 1, plus 143. So no change on the Virtanen price. And if you want to get that price, remember the matches start at 2 a.m. Eastern time. So you haven't got long after this podcast lands or this show lands on YouTube to be able to get on that. Our record has improved. I mean, we're still behind, but I'm telling you now, I'm very confident we'll be in profit by the end of the year. So we've had a good couple of weeks, and we're now minus 4 units 65 on the show throughout the year. The WTA show is showing a loss of minus 281, which I'm sure we're going to get that back as well over the next few weeks. And then the soccer boys will be back tomorrow with the soccer of the English Premier League and the extra time are flying at the moment. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, Betting Weekly Studios, to be across everything that we offer. Next week, we'll be back on Sunday, actually. We'll be looking at 2 big tournaments as well. There's 2 big tournaments next week. We've got a 500 in Vienna and a 500 in Basel, which will be very interesting as well. So lots of stuff to look forward to there. Make sure you subscribe to be on top of that. Also, subscribe to our... I said the YouTube channel. This is where I always get confused. I always get this. So make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, as I said for the 3rd time. Make sure you download this podcast, Betting Weekly Game Bet Match, and make sure you follow us on our socials and Instagram and Twitter at Because We Win. But back again on Sunday, looking at those 2 big tournaments. Hopefully we end this tournament on a high with a couple of winners here and sort of eat into that negative and with some positives. But before I go, Sean, just give me a wrap up of the official plays. Not all the, we've gone through 4 matches there. What are we actually having as our official plays for tomorrow?
Yeah, I've already got Evans, so I'm not feeling brave enough to go in on him twice. Although that's probably what will happen, and then that will annoy me. But anyway, so in Almaty, we're going to take Otto Virtanen to win the opening set against Khachanov at plus 143. I'm just going to open the second one now. Moneyline Marcos Giron to beat Otto Rinderknech. And we're going to take set 1 overs, over 10.5 games in set 1 of Tsitsipas against Seyboth Wild, which I believe is a 2.95 plus 195 chance for Bet Rivers. Yeah,
a couple of really, really nice plays there with Bet Rivers. Make sure you head across in plenty of time, 2 o'clock Eastern time, the start in Almaty in Kazakhstan. 6 o'clock Eastern Time, AM, is the time in Antwerp. So early hours of the morning tomorrow on Thursday, these matches get underway. Okay, that's it for the week. Enjoy your weekend, Sean, and I'll speak to you again on Sunday.
Yep.
Take care, everyone. Good luck with your bets, and hopefully let's cash some tickets.